Hey, Kyle here. In this series, I am dealing with a common challenge for many followers of Jesus. How do I share my faith and not be weird? Or how do I talk about faith and it not be so awkward? In the last video, I gave you some tips on asking questions and the heart behind asking these questions. In this video and in the next video, we'll look at your responses if that person begins asking you some of these same questions in return. First, you'll want to tell the truth. This might seem obvious or just some sort of normal conversation piece. When we begin responding to questions from others and we know we want to share our faith, we can tend to tense up or feel like we have to have the perfect answer. The perfect answer is one that is the honest answer. And I'm not entirely sure where this comes from when it feels like we have to say just the right words. God promises in His Word to give us the words to say when we are in conversation with others and trust that the Holy Spirit is inside of us. So trust that God is at work in you. And when that person asks that question back to you, share honestly. Even if the questions aren't spiritual, you begin to build trust with whomever you talk to when your answers are honest. Fight against the tendency to exaggerate or embellish, or that feeling that might say, oh, that story's not good enough, or how does that stack up? Some of those doubts and some of those fears that creep up as we tend to share our responses to questions in human interaction. Don't allow those to overpower honesty and telling the truth. Now, some of you may recognize that we live in the age of authenticity. Most people can sense someone who isn't being honest. What this means for you is if the questions that you are asked makes you uncomfortable, then make sure you share that it makes you uncomfortable with a legitimate reason why. Be honest. Further, if you have certain convictions or doubts or uncertainties, or even if you disagree with an opinion that someone else has shared, you need to share these. And having an active faith enables Jesus to work on your heart so that you won't need to garner this person's approval or be afraid of them, no matter their response. Here's what honesty is not. It's not a weapon. It doesn't give you a license to be brash. It doesn't give you permission to say, take me as I am and just deal with it. It doesn't give you permission to have a tone that is insensitive or short. Honesty, being honest, telling the truth, moves down the path of vulnerability. Vulnerability aids in disarming the claim that Christians are hypocritical. You are willing to admit that you don't have all the answers, but have discovered something that helps you. Most people deal with a level of insecurity or sense for approval or a drive to control or a tug of making the power play or even having a level of fear. You being honest conveys a different sense of identity to the other person. Second, you will want to share your opinions and responses to these questions without being opinion telling. Yeah, I totally made that word up. Here's what I mean by this. Whatever you share in response to the questions you have been asked, there's a fine line between sharing what is and what they ought to do. Another way to say this is ensuring that you are being descriptive rather than prescriptive. Here's the one exception. If they ask you what you think they should do, in that case, it's usually best to come back with some sort of question. Now, this can drive people crazy to answer a question with a question. The reason that you will want to answer a question with this initial question is that it prevents you from appearing on some sort of moral high ground and being the all-telling wizard. If you're really interested in them, your goal isn't to get them to act like you would, but in fact, actually have them walk with Jesus to get good wisdom and discover the answer. A good question in response to the question, what you think they should do, takes you down this pathway. From this foundation of being honest and being descriptive, you have set the proverbial table to share spiritual content and introduce faith into the conversation. In the next video, we will discuss some of the spiritual content that you can share to move people towards a conversation about faith. If this video was helpful, please like and share. Be sure to check out more videos by the team at Generation Church. We want your faith to be an everyday faith.